Hey friends, hey friends, hey. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. Delicious jazz hands for you. Whether you're new or you've been around for a long time, I'm really glad you're here. Today is a doozy of a video, and I don't even know if I'm going to make it all the way through this video. So you may see me come back on different days to finish this. Got my notes, which I never prepare. I wasn't expecting to do this today, which is very Laura Burns of me, but I feel like I have the capacity to try to make this video today, so we are doing it. So we are going to talk about my Ozempic experience. Ah. So if that is appealing to you, if you want to hear all about that, then stay tuned and let's get into it. Before we jump into the video, I do want to say a few things. One is I live in a neighborhood where there are wild peacocks. If you're new to my channel, this will be news to you. And they're very vocal a lot of the time. And there are currently a few outside window that are screaming. So it may happen during the course of this video or any video that I ever make that you hear some weird screaming. That's them. Don't worry, everybody's fine. No cat or human being is in trouble. They're just very vocal. So with that being said, I want to also issue some trigger warnings for this. If you've clicked on this video and you've made it this far, you probably know what you're getting into, but I just want to be incredibly clear that I'm going to talk about health stuff. Specifically, I'm going to talk about diabetes, a little bit of PCOS. I'm going to talk about the medication, Ozempic. I'm going to talk about a really, really awful healthcare encounter that I had when I got diagnosed with diabetes. I will talk about weight loss, unintentional, though it may be, still weight loss and the ramifications of that. So if this is not a topic or details that you can handle, please, 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 like, I am usually that person. Please don't watch this video if this is going to make you feel bad, if it's going to trigger you, if it's going to do anything that is negative at all. And as you're watching this, if you stay with it and you start to feel like, oh, this is maybe making me not feel great, please just stop watching it. It's not worth it. Also, eating disorders and overexercise. And I am going to name numbers because I think that it is helpful in this context. So just major trigger warnings for like basically all of the things. Please take care of yourself. Please do not watch this if this is going to be harmful for you. I'm begging you, because I know how that is. And sometimes we just keep watching or reading or whatever, and then we're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Please don't do it. Okay. But you're an adult. You get to decide what you want to do. And then some ground rules. So I did this on my other video, and like 99.9% of people were so kind and understanding. And those that weren't are, probably like that in regular life with people that they know and love. And yeah, I don't understand it, but okay. So by continuing to watch this video, I'm hoping that you agree to respect my boundaries, and those are, please do not comment with any comment about my body or how it's changed, or whether you think I look better now, or your perception of my health, whether it's physical or mental. Basically, please don't comment on my body. Don't comment on how my body has changed. You're welcome to comment on the things that we're going to discuss, but please, like, hear what I'm saying and interpret that. I find comments about my body incredibly triggering, especially when they are compliments about how my body has changed, because they do not feel like a compliment to me. So whether or not you agree or can even understand like why I would feel like that, please, by continuing to watch this video, please respect that that's true for me. And I approach all of your comments with like love, and I assume positive intentions. And please don't make me regret that. So basically, yeah. And okay, all right. Well, let's, for really real, then get into it. Let's begin with my history of eating disorders and overexercise, shall we? This is super fun already. So I'm going to try to give the short version of things for these like background parts. But if you have been around a while and you know me, you know that I am a rambler and I am wordy. So I apologize in advance because, I say a lot of words. Okay, so I came into this experience with Ozempic and what happened with a history of different kinds of eating disorders. So I have at different times in my life both restricted and also binged. Not shocking, those often go hand in hand together. And for those who think that fat people can't have anorexia or engage in anorexia behaviors or however that is phrased, it's actually not true at all. And atypical anorexia is what you get diagnosed with when you're fat and you're anorexic, because atypical means that you're fat and anorexic, but actually, like, anyone can have anorexia. And I don't remember the exact statistics, and I will not pretend to know them off the top of my head, but either the majority of people with anorexia or a very high ratio of people with anorexia are in larger bodies. Just because you never get to that super thin, like what we think of when we think of anorexia, is because you never got to that point in your body, doesn't mean that you don't have an extremely intense case of anorexia, or however you frame it. So I have engaged in anorexic behavior or anorexia, whatever, I don't know how to say it, and also binge eating disorder. So restricting and binging, not at the same time, and also engaged in really intense overexercise in addition to restriction. What a fun combination of things. This is something that I don't talk about all the time because it's really hard to talk about. This video is incredibly hard to make, but I think that it is important for people to hear about the experience of taking this drug and make their own decisions about whether or not they want to take it. And I am not going to touch the question of should people be taking this drug for intentional weight loss when they are not diabetic. It's your body, it's your choice. You get to do what you want. I don't believe in intentional weight loss. For me, your body is your body. If I believe in body autonomy and I want people to respect my choices and my body and my autonomy, then I have to respect their choices. So it kind of doesn't matter what I think about that. So please turn that around on me as well if you're like already starting to get amped up and like wanting to write some comment. And I'm sorry if in moments during this I'm going to come off as like bitchy about this or whatever. I just have almost 41 years of life on this planet, dealing with people who think that they know my body better than me, and it's really tiresome and really hurtful. So I have a history of eating disorders and intense overexercise. I have at various points in my life been very sick physically and mentally. Physically because of my mental illness, and because of all of this. I have talked about this in some spaces before, but I shouldn't be here. And the fact that I'm still alive and on this planet and here to make this video is a testament to realizing that intentional weight loss is not me, and that I can live my best life in the body that I have. And yeah, I'm going to do me. Everybody else can do themselves. So yeah, so it's important to know though that I do have this history of eating disorder and overexercise. It's a compulsive overexercise, I believe is the term. So our story begins in, well, our story is going to pick up in October of 2021 when I went to the doctor for the first time in a couple years, because I didn't go the entire first year of COVID for obvious reasons. I didn't feel safe leaving the house. Doctors were in short supply, like yada yada, like y'all know, right? So I hadn't been. So October 2021, I went to the doctor to get, my blood work done, like to check up, like what's going on with my body. It's been a while, and I just need to know what's going on. I've missed my well woman exam. At that point, it had been 2 years because I didn't go. I was supposed to go like kind of right around when COVID started. So anyway, I went to the doctor and I got my blood work done, and my A1C came back and it was very high. Now, for reference, before COVID happened, the last time I had gotten my blood work done, and here we go, I'm going to say numbers, so please, like, take care of yourself. So before COVID, my A1C had come back and it was like 6.5, right? Which is either it's definitely pre-diabetes, but that might be like where diabetes like starts. I don't remember. I don't remember like the spectrum, but definitely pre-diabetes, maybe even full-blown diabetes. I don't know. Also, this is not the time for this, but like let's talk about pre-diabetes sometimes and like how that came to be a thing. This is not the video for that. If you're interested, comment below and tell me you want to talk about that, and I will literally record a video with my friend Julie, who is a dietitian, and we'll talk about that. But we're here for a different reason. So my A1C had been high, but not like, oh my God, like, whoa, that's so high. And so I was expecting it to have gone up. Once COVID happened, the stress of living in the world with COVID, of having to change the way my entire business ran, right? Like moving everything to online, was suddenly being terrified that I was going to die, right? Like all these things, and like worried about other people, the anti-Asian violence and rhetoric that was like so intense and made me terrified for members of my family and horrified at the world. Just so many things, right? So many things. Actually, there's a study, I don't have it. I'll try to find it, but that showed that like everyone's the stress, like everyone's A1C basically went up and hasn't come back down. And by everyone, I mean like in whatever they were studying, whatever population they were studying. Basically, like we all have been so stressed, right? And stress raises your blood sugar over time. Anyway, not that that's like an excuse for why mine went up. Mine went up for a lot of reasons. Number one, I've got a big family history of diabetes and I have PCOS. And those two factors, like I was going to get diabetes. It was going to happen by the time I was 40. And in 2021, I was 39. So I got my blood work back in October of 2021. And I was surprised to see that my A1C had gone up a lot in a pretty short amount of time. And it was, I don't have it with me. It was either 10.1 or 10.4, which is high. It's not like you're about to drop dead in this moment high, but that's high, right? That is definitely something to be concerned about. That is definitely a reason to get on some medication, figure out what's going on with your body, like get your stuff under control. I don't need anyone to tell me that I didn't take it seriously enough. I absolutely took that seriously. But let's also look at that jump from right before COVID to like basically a year and a half after COVID. So 2 years-ish. That's a big jump in a short amount of time. And I think that there are a lot of reasons why, which I already said. See, and I can feel myself trying to justify, like, I understand it was a big deal. I'm so afraid of people coming at me with like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. This is why I have guidelines. For anyone who doesn't understand why I put up my boundaries and stuff, this is why. Because this is really hard to talk about, and knowing that I'm going to get judged, and knowing that if I were in a thin body and the same thing happens, which it absolutely could, because thin people get diabetes, that people's response would be different. So if you wonder why I talk about these things so much, that's why, because I know what some people are thinking exactly right now. And if that's you and you're like about to make some comment, please just don't. Please recognize that I got enough mental health struggles and I don't need any help. Okay, so October 2021, that's high. That's absolutely diabetic levels. We got to do something about this. So, but the person who diagnosed me was like, I would like you to, see an endocrinologist. I was like, yes, I agree. So let me also, I forgot about this part. So when I had gotten that last blood work back before COVID, I was like, oh, this is concerning. Like I can see that the diabetes that was coming for me, like, is arriving. And I did try to make an appointment with an endocrinologist then, like at the 6.4 or whatever level. And for me and my history of extreme medical mistreatment and actual trauma that I have endured in medical settings, I had been looking for an endocrinologist that had more of a reputation for not being an asshole to fat people, basically. And so I didn't and still don't feel safe just going to any random endocrinologist or any doctor for that matter. Because I have experienced the things that I have experienced, I am incredibly hesitant to just roll up somewhere and feel like I'm going to be treated with compassion and respect. So I was trying to find an endocrinologist. I found one that had like a better reputation for being kind and compassionate to fat people, but I couldn't get in. And I tried for months to try to get in, and I just got disheartened and gave up. And then COVID happened. Okay, there's gonna be a lot of these things where I'm like, oh, this is important backstory. It's not like I never tried to go see a doctor about this, but COVID happened. I wasn't leaving my house. It wasn't gonna happen. So October, blah, blah, blah. I tried to get an appointment with that same endocrinologist and I couldn't get in. And I was like, okay, well, I definitely just need to see somebody. So I made an appointment with someone in her same office, but a different doctor who in their bio, I knew what this was. In her bio on her website, it says that she's very passionate about weight loss. So I knew that I was going into a space where it was not ideal for me and that my views were not going to be respected. But I recognized that I needed to get on a medication and start to treat my body to bring my A1C down, right? Like I can't wait any longer. This has to happen because it did, all the reasons. So I am going to talk about that office visit. And if you don't want to hear about it, it's traumatic. It was top 3 worst. I can feel in my body. It was top 3 worst doctor's experiences of my life. It was really bad. If you have medical trauma, you don't need to hear this. Fast forward a few minutes. Let me make a note. I'll put a note to put a timestamp because you don't need to hear this. you already know anything that I would say. You've already heard it. So just making a note. Timestamp for doctor's story. Miss. All right. So if you're sticking around to hear it, here's what it is. So I went to this appointment, but before I did, I had hired a dietitian to help me. I was like, hey, so I haven't been officially, diagnosed with diabetes because I'm waiting for this endocrinologist appointment, but like I definitely have diabetes. Here's my blood work that just came back and I have a history of eating disorder, right? All the stuff that I just said to you. And so I started working with this dietitian a little bit. And one of the things that she was helping me with was kind of preparing myself for that appointment because I knew that I was going into a space with a doctor who was not going to be on my same page, right? That she has her own thoughts and beliefs about things and whatever, is passionate about weight loss. And for me, that is not something that I can do and not lead me to a place where I don't want to live in this world. And there are some people who don't understand that. And if you can't understand that, I can't make you understand that. And I'm also not telling you what to do with your body, just reiterating. But for me, it's not good. It's not good for me. And we're not this isn't a video about intentional weight loss and what it does to your body over time and blah, 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 and the efficacy of dieting and all those things, which if you haven't learned about any of this stuff, that's a whole other thing, but we'll just keep it personally about me. So my dietitian was helping me prepare and she was like, hey, if you want, I can write a letter or an email or whatever and send it over to the doctor's office so it's in the file for when they see you, so they will read this letter before and hear blah, blah, blah. And I'll also call and try to speak to the doctor directly. And I was like, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much. And so she called and she sent the email to have the letter placed in the file, which basically said hey, I'm Laura's dietitian. I'm working with her on the diabetes and blah, 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 whatever. And she's a diabetic specialist dietitian. I know that you have your in-house, they sold food, diet food. They have a whole diet program in their office, which I didn't want to be a part of. I didn't want to have to sit through the sales pitch of that. I didn't want to meet with their the person who runs that program. Like, I've got my dietitian, she's going to help me on the food side. I really just need to get officially diagnosed, and I need you to put me on a medicine so that I can start working on all this, right? And so she said, Laura has a history, blah, 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 and she's working with me, and I'm a diabetic specialist, and blah, blah, blah. So please don't make her meet with the person for your diet plan. Like, I got her, right? Like, I am a real, like, RD, right? RD? Yeah, registered dietitian. Anyway, which made me feel better about going, because I have a really hard time advocating for myself in the moment when this like authority figure, right, like the doctor or like medical professionals in general, I just kind of like, how there's like fight, flight, or freeze, like I'm a freezer, and I really just like have trouble advocating for myself in the moment. And so I was like, oh, well, this feels helpful, because then I don't have to say these things. It'll be like in the file. So she did that. I went to my appointment. I was so nervous. And they made fun of the letter and the phone call. They tricked me into seeing the person who runs their diet program. I'm giving you the short version. They tricked me into seeing that person who essentially wouldn't let me leave the room or skip past it. They tried to like convince me that I was gonna basically keel over in any moment, which is not true. They told me that I was gonna lose my feet. They really wanted me to sign up for their diet program, and they were trying to scare me into doing it. Luckily, I am not coming into diabetes fresh. Like, it does run in my family. I do know some things. I'm not an expert, but I know that you don't just like lose your feet. Like, you don't just like have to get your feet amputated or whatever. Like, I'm not just going to die at any moment. Like, you have to get to a place like that, and things have to happen along the way to get to a place. And I was nowhere near that place, but they were trying to scare me. And in my head, I kept saying, like, this is not true. They're trying to scare you. They just want you to pay for this diet program, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just kept affirming to myself, and I could feel like the moment where I had been trying to be like, well, for me, it's not like trying to actually engage. And I could feel the moment where my brain just said, stop trying. And I just sat there and I said, and I dissociated kind of, and just was like, oh my God. And like, I hate that feeling of not being in my body, because I was like that a lot before I found like, body liberation and all these things, and like embodiment and mindfulness and yoga and fat liberation, and have done years of work to be in my body, to know what I think is true, to have my beliefs, to be able to stand firm in things, to be here and alive, and eating food and moving my body in ways that feel good, and not, it's like whatever. Like, I've done so much work, and I can't imagine if I hadn't been through so much and done so much work to have arrived at that appointment and be treated like that, and not have like the ability to remind myself, this isn't true. This isn't true. They just want to take your money. They just want to sign you up for this program. The things that they are saying are not actually true for you in this moment. It was incredibly unethical. It was cruel. And, however you're reacting to this right now, if you are like, oh my God, I'm sure it wasn't that bad, you don't know. There are people who will be watching this and who will understand what it's like to be in a doctor's office or something and be treated like you are the absolute stupidest person. They think that you are the stupidest person, that they can't trust you to tell the truth about your body. They can't trust you to take care of your own body, to know anything true about your own body. There are some of us who will understand that, and there are some who will not understand that. And if you don't understand that, then I'm really, honestly, very happy for you, because you've never had to go through that, or you haven't gone through it enough times to understand what was happening. Anyway, I never leave my body like that anymore. It has been 15 years, 20 years, maybe. No, 15 years. Um, and it was awful. And I feel really grateful that I have done a lot of work so that I made it through that. And I knew that it was fucked up. And I knew that what they were saying was inaccurate and unethical, like that their behavior was unethical. Um, and when I got out of that appointment, and I'll talk about the rest of the appointment, but when I got out of that appointment, I texted my dietitian. I was like, oh my God, it was worse than I thought, blah, blah, blah. And then she never responded to my text. She had like told me to check in after my appointment. It still like really hurts my feelings. Like, why would you tell me to check in and then not check in? So I never talked to that dietitian again. I don't know what happened to her. I hope she's okay. I have a new dietitian now, and they respond to my texts, and they're great. And I've been seeing them for a long time now. But so back to the appointment. I had also prepared with my dietitian. She told me about the different kinds of medications that I would likely like have on offer and the pros and cons of each type. I have IBS, and so a lot of the medications really jack with your stomach and situation. And so we had talked about like what are better and like less likely to mess me up, and which ones were more likely. And here's where we get to Ozempic. I know you're like, oh my God, we're like 85 minutes in. I told you I was a rambler. Also, there are a lot of details here. So she was telling the doctor at the appointment was telling me about the semaglutide, right, Ozempic, and she only mentioned that medication. And I had a list that I brought with me because I knew that I couldn't trust my memory. And I said, okay, well, so yes, I see this is one kind that my dietitian talked to me about, but here are these other kinds which may be less likely to mess with my stomach, blah, blah, blah. I do have this IBS. It is very bad. And the doctor was like, well, but you'll lose weight if you take this one. And I was like, okay, well, if you take the weight loss out, which one of these would be better, like for my body, like thinking about my chronic illness and the IBS and like things that I already deal with and how debilitating it can be. Like, if you take weight loss out of the equation, like, would one of these other kinds of medications be better? And she was like, well, we can't take weight loss out of the equation because I want you to lose weight. And I was like, can you just answer the question that I asked? I said, I'm not saying no to this medicine, to Ozempic or the semaglutide, but can you just answer that question? I just wanted to know because I wanted to hear her. She's a doctor, right? Like, I want to actually know your answer. Anyway, she wouldn't answer that question. And it was really frustrating for me. And there were other things where she wouldn't actually answer the question because she said, well, that's not a good question. So I had asked her, like, okay, well, as we start to treat my diabetes, like, how do I know, like, if the A1C is here and we want to get it to here, how do I know that it's like making enough progress along the way? Like, can you give me, so, when I come back in 3 months to check my A1C, you want to know, like, you want to see me have made progress to this number, right? If we're starting at like a 10.1, 10.4, like, okay, you want to see me at an 8 or you want to see me at a 7. And she wouldn't answer the question. She said, that's not a good question because we're aiming for, whatever, 5.4 or 5, I don't know, 5.8. I don't remember the numbers, but she's like, but I want you here. I'm like, I get it. I also want to be there. But like, how do I know that the medicine and food or exercise or like whatever, how do I know that this is like working in the ways that are on track? How do you know that I'm on track? Like, what's a good number to be like, okay, if I come back in 3 months and my A1C is this, that like, okay, good progress, keep going, like we're trying to get here, right? Like, I'm playing your game. I agree, like we're trying to get here. That's not a good question because I want you here. Oh my God, okay, all right, I'm not saying I don't want to get here also. Oh, that is very frustrating. And so there were multiple times during the appointment where she did that and she like wouldn't answer the question. She's like, it's not a good question. Okay, this is not helping me feel like safe and comfortable here and like respected and listened to. So the point is, or I guess the upshot of everything is I said, I'm willing to try semaglutide, Ozempic, if it makes it to where I can't leave well, I wasn't really leaving my house much, but if it, if it takes me to the bad place in IBS land where I'm living in the bathroom and I couldn't leave my house if I wanted to, and I can't do things and I can't function and I'm miserable and I'm in pain, I'm not taking this medicine. It is not worth it to me when there are other options. And she was like, whatever. She didn't like that answer. And I said, I'm willing to try it. I'm literally saying yes to this medicine. I will try it. I'm just letting you know, thinking that this is the doctor that I would go back to, like, you're my new endocrinologist. Like, I just want you to know that if it makes my quality of life unbearable, I want to try something else. Like, this is not nuts. There are other options. OMG. This was, there's so many things. I'm going to end this story, but there were more things that happened. It was really awful. They didn't believe me when I talked about so many things. They didn't believe when I talked about food that I ate, the fact that I wasn't binging, hadn't binged in a long time, like whatever. They weren't listening to me. They didn't trust me to believe me about anything that I had to say about my body and what I put into it or how I moved it. It was bad. The end. I did not go back to that doctor. Can you imagine? Like, I'm sure you understand why. It was, even if everything that they said was true, the way that they said it and the way that they treated me was inappropriate and unethical. So even if you're like, Laura, I don't agree with anything you're saying, I hope that you can agree with, they were real shitty to me and it felt bad. And that's not how you help people. And that's not how you treat people if you want them to respect you and believe what you're saying and like do what you want them to do. Anyway, okay. Well, I'll take a deep breath, a clearing breath. I've not seen that doctor again, and I will not. And that's the short version. Let's wiggle and shake. Let's clear that energy out. All right. So we're going to finally get into it, trying Ozempic. This is before Ozempic blew up. This is before most people knew what Ozempic was. We're in a different landscape now because people know what it is. They know the different names that it goes by. So let's just start with semaglutide, or Ozempic, is a drug that is for people with diabetes. It's for people with diabetes. It can cause, but does not always cause, weight loss. Let's hear it again. It does not always cause weight loss. People can take this drug and it doesn't make them lose weight. Did you know that? I personally know people who have taken it or other like named versions of it, and it didn't cause any weight loss. It caused intense bowel stomach problems, but it didn't cause any weight loss. So let's just start with that. Not everyone loses weight on semaglutide or any of these like other named versions. It did happen in my body. So I started taking it, and where you kind of taper up and over time so your body can get used to it. I felt some like IBS repercussions, but nothing that was like so bad that it made me like, this is not worth it. So I feel like I'm the person who should have had really bad like bowel stomach reactions to it, but I really didn't, which is kind of strange, but like, thank God. Something went right or went a little better. It did make me not hungry. And that was really hard because I worked for years to get to a point with my relationship with food where I could eat food that I wanted to eat, that I would eat enough to be satisfied, that I most of the time wouldn't eat more, right? Like to the point of overfullness, like that feels bad, right? Or like even towards a binge. But even just like, oh, I ate too much. Like sometimes you do because it's like, it's so good, or you eat really fast and you don't realize like, oh, that was too much, like too fast. I I I did years and years and years of really hard work to work through my issues with food and get to a point where I could have fun with food. I could eat things that are, like considered like whatever. I could eat foods that were high in sugar or high in fat or like whatever, and I could eat them and allow myself to enjoy them. And this is where a lot of the struggle with Ozempic comes in, because when you're taking something that makes you not feel hungry, right? So there's some of you that are probably like, yes, great. I don't want to be hungry. Then I won't eat as much food, like whatever. Like, I get that. And if you have a history of eating disorders, that's really dangerous to have those feelings and to really like sink into that and be like, yeah, I'm not hungry. I'm not going to eat very much. Like, yes, yes, yes. Like, great. That's really dangerous for someone like me, because that can lead you, or that could lead me to those periods of restriction again. And again, you can be fat and have anorexia. You can be fat and be like a successful anorexic. Just because you're not skin and bones doesn't mean that you can't have extremely disordered eating, extremely disordered relationship with food, extreme restriction or purging or like whatever. So basically what I found was um, it was bringing down my blood sugar, because I was checking my blood sugar multiple times a day, keeping a log of it. It was working. So the drug was doing what it was supposed to do for my blood sugar. And that was really exciting because it wasn't hard at all, right? Like this drug was like kind of doing all the work for me for the most part. Um, so when I started it, I also started moving my body uh, in certain ways more intentionally. So I'm a yoga teacher. I practice like the physical asana of yoga frequently. I teach classes. I like to go hiking. But if you think about like that day in, day out, like a daily movement practice, the things that I did were not like sustained cardio or even like, like a long, slow walk or something, right? Like it wasn't that kind of exercise. So I did start walking. And at first I was doing like the walking videos like on here on YouTube. There's like the OG is Leslie Sansone, who is like a Christian walking for fitness and health lady. And it's very cheesy, but it's like fun to do, and it's low impact, and you can do it inside when it's blazing hot in Houston, Texas, or it's raining or it's too cold, like whatever. You can just like fit in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and like do your like fun little walk, and you're moving your body, you're getting your heart pumping, right? Like it's good. You can do some of it seated if you want. Like you can make it work for your body, and you can fit it in whenever you have time. And then we actually ended up getting a treadmill because I've always wanted one, and I love walking at the treadmill at the gym, but it was COVID. And so for Christmas, actually, Richard got it for me. Richard is my husband. And it was a splurge. Oh my God, that was a splurge. It's a Peloton tread. It is amazing. I love it. It has like classes you can take, and Peloton in their classes, like they don't talk about burning calories. They don't talk about like your muffin top. Like it's actually like not triggering for me. You can hide calorie count that you're like burning or whatever, because it like will tell you, just like on a regular treadmill. Like I used to have to throw my towel over the thing at the treadmill because I don't want to see that. It's not healthy for me to see that. But here it's like you just touch like a button on the screen and it disappears. It's great. Music, instructors like leading you through a walk. Like I love it. A thing that might help you understand why I would love it so much is like I have multiple chronic illnesses. The older I get, the more I feel unsafe in hot temperatures. So a lot of the year here in Houston, it is hotter than I'm willing to be outside in because it doesn't feel safe for me. It doesn't feel good. So having access to this where I can go and like move my body and have fun, no matter what the weather is really great. So I've kind of fallen in love with that, and I still like love it. I use it a lot. So I started Ozempic and I started moving my body more. And so Ozempic was making the my blood sugars come down. It was helping me to regulate those things better. I did adjust the foods that I was eating, right? Like, I'm like, okay, well, I can't like eat exactly the same way that I was before. And so I started actually just eating more in line with the teachings for PCOS that my friend slash business partner Julie, we run a PCOS community online. I actually just like really leaned into the stuff that she teaches about uh, what's good for PCOS, because part of my PCOS is insulin resistance, like blah blah blah. It's all connected. It's all connected. And so I just really leaned into like pairing food. So I was still like, I'm not going to never eat sugar, but if I'm going to eat this sugar, I'm going to make sure I'm pairing it with something that has protein and fiber and fat, right? So that's more balanced, so that it's not going to spike my blood sugar, right? I already like didn't drink a lot of soda. And when I did drink a soda, it's always diet, just because like I grew up drinking diet soda and I prefer it, the taste of that. I can only have a couple sips of like regular sugar soda, and it makes my teeth feel funny. So kind of the only time I would drink a regular soda is if I was making like a root beer float or like something like that, which is like very rare. So I just was like, well, I'll just have diet soda if I'm gonna drink a soda. I mostly drink water or like Propel packets or like mix-ins that are already sugar-free, like Crystal Light, because I grew up drinking those things. It feels natural and comfortable to me. And like I developed a taste for that growing up. So like, you know, that's what my taste is. I made one big change because of my IBS. I had been a vegetarian or vegan like since, I don't know, like really like young, since like grade school, some point. I don't remember when. And I started adding in seafood when I got diagnosed with PCOS, because I was trying to get more protein in, because I can't have gluten. Sorry, this is important. I can't have gluten, and it's challenging to be like a vegetarian or a vegan and gluten free. When you cook for yourself, it's a little easier. When you go out, it can be really hard. It's easier now. It's been a while, but after I got diagnosed with diabetes, I did start eating meat because I just needed more. I needed more variety of protein sources, and that's been a whole roller coaster. But I can feel in my body that it is better. So yeah, start taking Ozempic. I did change the way I ate some. I did start exercising more. So it's not just Ozempic, right? It's like the things that go around it. I'm obviously paying more attention to the food that I'm eating and the way that I'm moving my body, but also all the time in my head, walking this knife's edge of like, I don't want to fall too far this way into dieting, over exercise, obsession with numbers and calories and my weight and all this stuff, right? Like, it's not good. And I know where that road leads, and it leads to me not being here anymore. Because that has been proven to me time and time again. And I'm not going to get into that, but please believe me when I say I shouldn't be here. And I'm here, which is why I go so hard for my birthday every year, because I almost wasn't here and I'm still here. I'm turning 41 this year and I'm very pumped about it. So I'm taking Ozempic and I start losing weight. All these things happen, right? My food changes, my exercise changes, I'm on this drug, I start losing weight. And I started really battling in my head this like, the part of me that is like always going to be connected to diet culture, that is affirmed at every time you turn around in our culture, it's going to be affirmed and validated. And so that part of me is like, ooh, losing weight. Oh, like this is a little loose now. Or like, oh, like I don't own a scale, right? So I don't know. I couldn't tell you like at what intervals, but like, you know, your clothes start fitting differently, or like the furniture that you sit in if you go somewhere feels different, right? There's more space, or, you know, like what you can tell. And so I started like really going like, oh God, okay, I can feel that I'm having this emotional battle. And like, this is what needs to happen with my body right now, right? Like, I'm feeling better. I have more energy, all these things, because my blood sugar is more regulated. And that's good, right? Like I'm testing multiple times a day, like, okay, this is good, like whatever. But also I have talked to a lot of people who have been diabetic for decades, right? For like their whole life or whatever. And they're like, don't get fixated on the numbers. because you can have seasons where, it's like, oh, your A1C is like so good, right? And you're like, yay. And then you go through a season where like you're doing the same stuff, but it's like a bad number. And then you feel like shit, right? You feel like you have failed yourself or you failed your doctor or whatever. They're like, don't get hung up on the numbers, right? Your body is reacting to this right now, which is great, but it may not stay like that. So, oh my gosh, I'm being so long-winded about everything. Sorry, y'all. I warned you. So I'm on it. Let me look at my notes. I'm on it. Okay, pros and cons. Let me move on in my little agenda here. So pros and cons, it worked. My blood sugar came down. My A1C came down. I would go get it checked like every 3 months, basically. And it came down, it came down, it came down. So I got off the medication in May of last year, the May of 2022. I was only on Ozempic for like 6 months. And when I got off of it, my A1C was 5.4. 5.4. 10.1 or 10.4, I don't remember. So 5.4. 5.4 is, I think, the lower end, the bottom of the range for prediabetes. So it works. I had to get off it because I couldn't continue to take it. And I have been off of it since then. So next month, it will have been a year. Oh my God, a year since I have been off of it. So I've been off of it longer than I was on it for sure. And I've had time to process how it was to be on it, to get off of it, to be off of it now. To be honest, I didn't want to get off of it. I had to get off of it because I needed to take something else that I couldn't be on it to take it. And that was more important in that moment because my A1C had come down and I have many things going on in my body. I was really upset to have to get off of it because it was working and I was terrified. I was terrified that if I got off of it, that my A1C was going to shoot right back up and that there wasn't really anything else that they could put me on for the time being. So the only things that I had to manage my diabetes, the only things that I have to manage my diabetes at this point in my life is what I eat and how I move my body. And that is a recipe for anxiety and to stay on that knife's edge of diet culture and all the things that I've already talked about, or the other direction and not thinking about anything, right? Like, so walking this like extremely thin, this extremely thin edge and having to be so cognizant all the time of all this stuff where you start to realize how much energy it takes up having to carry this around all the time. And it won't be like this forever. At some point, if I needed to, I could go back on the medication. I could pick it up again and do it. I can't do it right now. That's fine. So I was really scared. And so yeah, so it's been almost a year. And I had my A1C checked actually last week, and it is 5.0, I think. 5.0. And I still carry that load in my head constantly. I'm eating this. Is it paired? Is it, is it balanced? Is this going to spike my blood sugar or how much or whatever? So part of it is I'm hyper fucking vigilant, and that sucks. And it's so tiring. But part of it is I've gotten in the habit of moving my body more and I'm stronger because I did all that. And so, the more you do it, if you get strong, if you don't hurt yourself by doing it a lot, like you get stronger, it becomes a little easier. In my body, that's how it's feeling. I'm working on being really mindful of how much I'm exercising, how intensely, and really questioning, like, do I really want to go hard today? Can I pull back? Can I walk slower? Can I skip today? Like, it's tiring to think about, to question every food choice, every time I move my body. Why am I making this choice? Am I doing this because I'm hoping that I'll lose weight, or I'll, like whatever, or am I doing this because it sounds fun, because it sounds good? So it sounds kind of silly, but like something that I started doing is like going out for ice cream, because that's something that I never used to do. Even when I was like eating whatever I wanted, like every once in a while, yeah, but not that much. But now I'm like, let's go get ice cream, because, that's like, oh, you shouldn't eat that or whatever. But like, here's the thing, that I'm going to give myself permission to eat ice cream. And that might sound really fucking sad to you, but like, that's where I am right now. It's having to specifically make choices to where I can like go take myself out, or me and Richard can go and have like a fun food something, and I know that it's the full fat, full sugar version, and I'm not restricting in this moment, and that feels really good. And I don't do it every day, and like I don't do it every week or whatever, but like the food, like I still eat, right? Like, so before I started this, I got to the point where I ate real butter and full fat cheese and full fat yogurt, and like, well, because that shit tastes better. It's more enjoyable. It's going to be more satisfying. So I still eat all of those things. And really, food wise, the biggest thing that has shifted is I just mostly get like sugar free things. So like what? Like in baking, I bake with sugar, like fake sugar stuff, or like stevia, or like whatever, instead of real sugar. Because I don't really miss it in that. I eat sugar in the things where I'm like, the non-sugar version is like a sad imitation. Um, and yeah, and like just like the ratios of things have changed a little bit, right? So I'm not on a diet. I'm not on a diet. I'm not on a low carb diet. I eat plenty of carbs, and I just also make sure that I'm eating enough fiber, fat, and protein. And like that's really it. And it's very important to me to not be on a diet for the reasons that I've said. Okay. Oh, this is so long. Um, so pros and cons. Let's talk about the pros. Blood sugar, doing great. Um, Cons. Cons. Um, my body changed, and I didn't want it to. My body changed in a way that most people in the world would congratulate and compliment, but to me is a painful reminder that most people would look at my body and think that it is the thing that needs to be changed. My body changed, and I have to constantly fight myself in my head to be like, ooh, well, maybe if you like just did an extra mile, like just do an extra, do an extra 20 minutes, or just like, no, I'm tired. I'm going to get off the fucking treadmill, or like, no, I don't feel like doing it today. I have to constantly monitor myself to make sure that I'm not slipping back into that mindset and way of life and sickness, because I know where it leads. And none of these things are necessarily true for everyone, right? Like we're our own people, like we have our own experiences. I want to talk about something really awful that has happened in conjunction with this, where my body changed. So I am not famous, but I am a person on the internet, right? Like you're watching this video. I on Instagram have an amount of followers that like in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of followers, but to a lot of people, it's like, oh, okay. It's like 23,000. It's not like whatever. I'm not famous. However, I'm a person that people follow on the internet sometimes. And I navigate a space online that purposefully doesn't talk about weight, doesn't talk about health, doesn't talk about things that can be triggering for other people, because I'm a person who is triggered by that shit. So I want my account to be a space where I don't talk about those things, where you can follow me and not be scared that I'm going to drop in with something that makes you go, ooh, that feels bad. So my body was changing, and I didn't talk about it online. Also, at the time, I couldn't talk about it. It was so hard. The fact that I can even make this video now tells you I've done a lot of work like emotional personal growth work in this year that I've been off Ozempic to be able to even talk about this and not be crying. The time that I was on Ozempic and probably 6 months afterwards was like the hardest year of my life since I didn't want to be here. I cannot overstate how challenging that time was because my body changed and I had the world saying, "Yay, great, keep it up. Oh my God, amazing, but keep going because you're not good enough yet." And I had this group of people saying, "Oh, I'm noticing that your body is changing. What's going on with you? Did you get a secret weight loss surgery? Are you dieting? Are you whatever?" And I am in the middle going, "Oh my God, I'm just trying to exist, walking this knife's edge, trying to be in a fat body that doesn't mind being in a fat body in a world that hates my fat body." And I've got the fat community was looking at that and saying, literally, someone at some point started a rumor that I got a secret weight loss surgery. And that's why my body had changed. And that's why I had lost weight. And it people were saying that the rumor spread. I don't know who started it. I do know some people who forwarded that message along to me. I heard from multiple people who were not in the same like groups that they had heard that rumor about me. So, hey, if you heard that rumor, it's not fucking true. I am not going to tell anyone what to do with their body. And there are a lot of reasons why people choose to get weight loss surgery. And I don't exist to judge anyone for that. I can tell you for me, it is not something that I want to do or that I should do. It is not for everyone. I, for so many reasons, would not get weight loss surgery. One of the biggest reasons being I know a lot of people who have died because of having the various kinds of weight loss surgeries. Um, Makes me really sad. Um, there's people that I have known and loved who are no longer here because they had weight loss surgery. Like, what a stupid fucking reason to die. So even if I didn't have any other personal reasons, which I do, um, I would never do it. And that's not a judgment on anyone who gets it. You are your own person, body autonomy. Do what is right for you. I'm going to do what's right for me. My personal opinion doesn't matter because it's my personal opinion. It's no judgment on anyone at all for doing it. There's a lot of reasons that people choose to do it, and I get it. But it is not for me. And so to have this rumor that I did that um, as a secret is really hurtful. I feel like if you have followed me, you know my work, if you've been to my classes or retreats or like even just followed me on Instagram, like you would know that like that's not something that I would do. Um, and even if you thought that was the thing that I would do, why are you gossiping about me? And so it's really hurtful because I really needed support, like especially then, but even now, like I really needed support and I got none. I got rumors and gossip. I got people reporting to me about what they heard. Also, you don't need to tell me. If you hear something about me, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear it. Um, I needed the support of the community and I didn't get it. I needed like this and I got this. And it really hurts me to feel like that happened. Because I feel like I put everything into this community and I just care so much for fat people and our space and our needs and our experiences in life. And it makes me really sad. It hurts my feelings. Um, so I'm doing better. You can't tell, but I'm doing better than I was while I was on Ozempic and afterwards. For like 6 months, it was pretty bad. And my body has stopped changing sizes now, which is helpful. I did lose a lot of weight. I'm going to say a number. If you don't want to hear it, please skip ahead. I'm going to give you a little space here. Just skip ahead just a little bit. But so after being on Ozempic for 6 months, I had lost, I don't remember the exact number. People always have the exact number of pounds, but about 100 pounds. I'm still very fat. I'm still very fat. I am still the same person. I am not losing weight anymore, which I think is great. My mental health has stabilized. My physical health feels pretty good, aside from my chronic illness issues. My physical health feels pretty good. I have some chronic injuries that hurt all the time, but have always, or have for a long time, and probably still will for a long time. They weren't improved by weight loss. None of my chronic health issues were improved with weight loss. And yeah, so I feel really grateful that my weight has stabilized. I still am, exercising and eating in the same ways that I was when I was on Ozempic, but my weight has stabilized. So I think that lets us know that it was the drug that was causing it, which is why all these people, right, are taking it because they want to lose weight. But also, it doesn't work for everybody. I honestly wish that it hadn't worked for me. I haven't been this low in a long time, like not in this moment, but like, that like kind of 1 year period, the 6 months on and then the 6 months after, I hadn't been that low in a really long time. I'm definitely feeling better than I have since before I started it. Okay, let me look at my notes. How it's been since, physically, emotionally. So yeah, emotionally, I'm feeling better than any time during the experience. I'm still really vigilant of each decision that I make. Why did I choose this food? Why did I choose to exercise or to, if I go longer or harder on the treadmill or a hike or like, an exercise thing that I'm doing, like, why did I do that? Because I wanted to or because I felt like I should? That's exhausting. I would love to not constantly think about those things. That would be nice because I am not given any other medication to take care or to manage my diabetes right now. I'm in this messed up place where all I have is what I eat and how I move my body. So it's not forever. I'm like literally reminding myself of this in this moment. It's not forever, but right now, that's what I have. Those are the tools that I have. And so I don't think that I'll be able to not be vigilant for a while. It's not my favorite. So what's next? I'm finally to the end of my notes. Y'all, if you're still watching this, bless you. So what's next? I don't know. What's next is I'm finally ready to talk about it. I'm making this video. It's been long enough. I've been doing the work of like, the emotional side of things to where I want to share my experience on Ozempic because here's the thing. Ultimately, it works. The different names, like whatever, it works. From a diabetes context, it did. It was so helpful. Oh my God. I wouldn't, as hard as this time was, I wouldn't take it back. I would do it again. But I would want to know these things. I would want to have this. I would want to have been able to watch a video like this to help me prepare for the emotional side and for how it would be if you are a person for whom dieting and weight loss is not something that you want. I hope that you can hear. I hope you're watching this. I hope that you can hear this. I'm not saying not to do it. It worked. but like, dude, at what cost? It was really hard. Like that, what an understatement. I'm a strong, resilient person, and this was almost too much. Um, but it worked. And my A1C is good. So, if you are a person that wants to take it because you want to lose weight, it might work for you. Um, it might not. I know people that didn't lose any weight on Ozempic and they did similar things like me. You know, their eating changed, their movement changed. Um, so I'm not saying don't do it. I don't want to get into this. I think that if you're doing it just to lose weight, I would maybe question how ethical it is to take a drug where people who are actually diabetic are having trouble accessing this drug that they need, because so many people are taking it to lose weight. This is not to shame anyone who's doing that, but just to really bring into your awareness that I specifically even know people who have not been able to get access to the drug that they need because it's been overprescribed for people who want to lose weight and people who well, I'm going to stop. That's not the point of this video. However, just made me think. But yeah, so if you're like, oh, I kind of want to try Ozempic and, you know, I'm not sure how it's going to be, I hope this is helpful for you. Feel free to ask questions in the comments or comment things that abide by the ground rules and my boundaries. If you are genuinely curious about something and can respectfully ask, feel free. Please know that this video was really, really hard to make. It's hard to talk. This is the first place where I have publicly talked about any of this. This is my first time doing so. Don't make me regret it, I guess. Please, if you see me and you hear me and how hard this was and emotional it was, please just keep that in mind with your comments. Please be kind, please be respectful. But I mean, if you have like actual respectful questions, please ask them. If this is something that you're considering, ask your questions. Know that I might not have the capacity to respond to them, or at least immediately. Just know that like this is hard and I don't know how I'm going to feel when people start commenting. There's a lot. Yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, for sticking through it. I know this was long, but I had a lot to say and I'm a rambler. And this is the short version. There's a lot of stuff that happened that I didn't say, a lot of feelings and getting into stuff that I didn't get into, but this is what I feel I can do. I can feel my body. Feel really tired. This is what happens when I like a big like emotional share. So I'm gonna end this and upload it. And I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this helps literally one person. And it will be, oh, I'm crying again. I gotta go. I hope that this can help one person because then it will be worth it for me to put this out there into the world. So thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me and holding my experiences and feelings with kind, loving arms, ears, eyes, whatever. You get what I'm saying. I am happy to be back on YouTube. I'm happy to be connecting with y'all again. And yeah, okay. All right, y'all. Bye.